पिला माने तम समस्त को मु स्वागत करछु मो यूट्यूब चैनल द +2 सेकंड ईयर आर्ट्स द आर्ट्स कॉमर्स पिला तो आर्ट्स कॉमर्स पिला मानक पई तमरो कोन ना तम मानकर फाइनल सिलेक्शन नेछि तो पिला माने तम मानकर कोन ना फाइनल सिलेक्शन नेछि हम आलोचना करिया फाइनल सिलेक्शन कोन पिला माने ना +2 बोर्ड एग्जाम दबा को जाउथिबा पिला माने +2 बोर्ड एग्जाम तो आर्ट्स कॉमर्स पिला मानकर कोन इंग्लिश रो फाइनल सिलेक्शन बुझेला तो एतिकी 2 मार्किया पढ़ो निश्चिंत 100% तमरा आसे जो 2 मार्किया पिला माने सिलेक्शन नेछि 100% तमरा आसो तो देखिबा प्रथम क्वेश्चन कोन दे आलोचना करबा वीडियो देखिया पूर्व चैनल ने नथिले सब्सक्राइब कर दबा बेल आइकन को दबे दबा नोना नोटिफिकेशन पाए लाइक शेयर कर दबा पिला माने समस्त को जय जगन्नाथ जय श्याम राधे राधे पिला माने तो प्रथम क्वेश्चन कोन दे हम आलोचना करबा दिस इज वाज माय फर्स्ट remuneration as a poet. Was the narrator happy with his reward as a poet? Next कौन दिला देना does the writers like examination quote the line in support of your answer. Next, mention the subject that were dearest to the exam. Mention the subject that were dearest कौन ना to the examiners. Next, which subject did the writer like the which subject did the writer like the most कौन ना writer को subject को अधिक भल पाउथले कौन देला ना which subject did the writer like the most कौन देला तापरे नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखिबा कौन देची now what reason does the writer give for his not doing well in the examination what reason does the writer give for his not doing well in the examination. Next question, what did the writer write in the answer book for the Latin paper? What did the writer write in the answer book for the Latin paper? को Latin paper तापरे what was the sad spectacle for him? What was the sad spectacle for him? Next, what was the writer's position in the merit list for admission? What was the writer's position? The merit list and position kete thila to admission bele. Next, whom does he give the credit of his success in the entrance examination? Who does he give the credit of his success in the entrance examination? Next, how did he become the last boy in the class? How did become the last boy in the class? Next, what is the custom of calling the roll at a harrow? Next, what is the custom of calling the roll at a eton? Next, why is last of all? Why did people say so? Next, what kind of students were taught Latin and Greek at a Harrow? Next, which students were taught only English? Next, how does the writers rate English as a subject and Mr. Sumrall as a teacher? Parvati question, what part of the English grammar did he learn from Mr. Sumrall? Next, how did he score over the clever school fellows in after years? How did the boys enjoy their time at the swimming bath? Next, what kind of pranks did they enjoy at the bath? Next, what did the writer do to the boy standing in a meditative posture? Next, what was the reaction of the boy? What did the writer learn about Emery from the crowd of younger boys? Next, how did the writer fare at school? How did he win a prize at a school? Why does he call his success an in plain? Next, why was it hard for the author to believe that his grandmother was once young and pretty? Next, how did the grandfather appear in his portrait? Next, what sort of a person did he look in his portrait? Next, how does the author protect his grandmother? What does he say? The thought was almost revolting. ତ ପିଲାମାନେ ଏଇ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ନିଶ୍ଚିନ୍ତ ତମର ଆସିଯିବ ତମର ବୋର୍ଡ ଏକ୍ଜାମ ରେ ପାଇଯିବ. What was the grandmother's routine in the village? Next, what lesson did the writer learn from the village pretest? Next, how did the grandmother spend her time at the temple? ତାପରେ କଣ ନା who see a religious person? How? What was the happiest time of the day for her? How did the grandmother see the author of at a railway station? Next, तो कौन देला how did the pass away? How did the sparrows react when the author's grandmother died? What does a good work ethic imply? Next, if is happening, it is happening in India. What does the author mean by this? Who is a good team player? What are the qualities of a good team player? Next, how do diversifying tax help workers? Why is it difficult to build terms in India? How can working with diversity happier? তারপরে what is polymalstic? When did Roosevelt find out that he had a poliomyelitis ପିଲାମାନେ ତାପରେ what are the early ତାପରେ symptoms of a polio attack? Next, which thing are the carriers of a polio virus? What are the two forms of a polio? Did polio affect Roosevelt's corona political career? Who are the most vulnerable to polio? How did he spearhead the fight against polio? Next, why was Father Gilligan weary? Was he only tired physically or also executed mentally? Justify your answer with examples from the poem. Next, what did he speak forgiveness from God? What type of man does this prove him to be? Next, Kandala. How was the night peacefully and quiet or quiet or turbulent and restless? Bring out two expressions from the poem to support your answer. Why has the night been described so? Why did his sick man's wife say, Father, you came again? Who come to the sick man before his death? Why? তারপরে দেখো, what were his words of gratitude to God? Does the little suggest what the poem is about? Next, what does the poet say about life in the first stanza? What does the poet mean by life is real, life is earnest? What is the poet's observation on the soul? Quote the line which means death is not the goal of life. What does the poet say about the goal of life in stanza 3? What is the poet's observation on art? Why does the poet prefer the present to past and a future? Next, what do the leaves of a great man remind us? How did the examples of a great man help a person in the distress? Next, how can we make our life sublime? What was the tone of the poem? Inspiring or a despairing? What important thing does the poet say about children and the television? How do children spend their time with the television? How do children behave while watching TV? How does TV become a harmful addiction for children? Next, what do parents let their children watch TV? Next, do you think TV does role of a babysitter justify? What are the undesirable consequence of watching the television? What what comparison does he make to prove his point? He can think, he only sees it. What does he refers to? Are all the people of the world made for money? Which line implies this? Are all the people equally made for money, or a degree of madness varies from person to person? How does a person feel when he parts with a pound of money? How does a person feel when he hands out a 10 proud note? What kind of feeling does money create in us? Are we really afraid of money or a moneyed man? What do people say about a man's oath? How many times is diet respected in the poem? What does the poet mean by diet? How do money mad men treat men without money? What does the poet say? We must have some money. Do you think bread, sea letter, and fire should be fair? Explain why do you think so? What are the two things implied in each one thing or the other?